Yes, it's John G. Sutton here. Tales from the Jails. Well, thank you all for watching this channel. And for the comments, please do send me your comments. A number of happy comments I received. One from, was it Larry? Lives in a tent on the moors outside, I think it's Rotherham actually. Someplace. I actually thought they'd pulled it down, but you know, they haven't apparently, and he lives on the moors, so good luck with that. Anyway, I'd like to say a little thing about people make comments about my observations concerning the hauntings of Her Majesty's prisons. Well, listen, if anywhere in the British Isles is going to be haunted, it's going to be the old Victorian prisons, don't you think? And they certainly are. As I said, I've previously discussed before the ghost on B-Wing of the former hangman who walks along B-Wing and disappears when he gets to the centre, usually around about 7, 8 o'clock at night. Man with a hat and a bag and he's walking along because he doesn't exist, he's a ghost. Now there's various theories about this, yeah? The theory about this, there is a theory, and I subscribe to this theory myself, that some apparitions that we see are not in actual fact ghosts, but the replaying of ancient happenings that have taken place on the premises. And it works like this, that the actual stones themselves, the fabric of the building, as recorded that moment, and when the atmospherics are absolutely right, it plays back. Hence, there is a place called Wycoller Hall, which is outside Colne, on the way between Colne and Haworth, and it was the place that was used in Jane Eyre, by I think it's Emily Bronte, who used Wycoller Hall as the base, the imaginary hall, for her book Jane Eyre. And it burnt down, and since it's burnt down, there's been sightings of a ghost, a horseman riding from Wycoller Hall over the moors. Now, this usually happens when the night is stormy and there's a lot of precipitation, and that may be because the atmosphere is absolutely right to replay that incident. Not that that's not a ghost, you see. A ghost will interact, or possibly can interact with you. As I have previously said, I've seen my father's ghost numerous times. I'll tell you the story. The last time I saw my father's ghost, actually fully materialised, because you do see spirits and they're not fully materialised, they'll just be like a mist drifting through, or a wind that blows past you for no reason. They're spirits, you see. Very often, if they cause disruption, they can be a form of poltergeist. But when you get an actual ghost, that's a materialised spirit that, for all intents and purposes, looks exactly like a human being, but is in actual fact the spirit of a human being. And it adopts the form that it was in at some point in its incarnation. And as I said, the last time I saw my father's ghost, I answered the door. There was a knock on the door. There was a man standing there, absolutely immaculately dressed, it looked like a cashmere coat. He had a trilby hat on. He didn't have glasses on. He looked to be about 28, 30 years of age. He was about 6 foot tall. Looked straight at me. He said, I'm looking for Mr. Tiffin. Can you help me? And I said, well, there was no Mr. Tiffin. It's me, you see. I'm John G. Sutton, you know. So I said, I'm very sorry there's no Mr. Tiffin here. I said, but if you'll just wait a minute, I'll go and ask. When I turned round, there was nobody there. I have a driveway, and the entire driveway leading up to the front entrance was empty. Nobody there. But when I went back in, there was a photograph of my father on a inside the house, and that's it. That's who it was. But not as he was when he died, because he was very ill when he died. But as he was when he was in his prime, about 28, 30, immaculately dressed. So you might say, so why would a spirit come back and ask for Mr. Tiffin? Well, there's a little clue in that, because when I was a child of about 4 or 5, I used to save up my pocket money, and at the weekend, my father would take me to the newsagent shop or the toffee shop, and I would get myself a bar of my favourite chocolate with the threepence or fourpence that I'd saved up for doing little odd jobs around the house, and my favourite chocolate bar was a Tiffin, and it consisted of nuts and raisins and milk chocolate. I used to really like, I think it was Fry's actually, Fry's chocolate bar, a Tiffin. Don't think they make them now. So that's how I know that it was my father, and I'd seen the man, but him being like 20 years younger than he was the last time I saw him, because he was 44 when he died, my father, and he died of leukemia, and he'd lost a tremendous amount of weight. He was a big strapping 15 stone, 6 foot something lad, and he'd gone down to about 8 stone. It drained him completely. Listen, but as I said, the haunted places, if any going to be anywhere in Britain that's haunted, it's going to be the prisons that were used as sites for execution. Yeah, certainly Strangeways is haunted. Wormwood Scrubs is haunted, but not haunted by a victim of the executioner's rope. No. One place that's haunted in the Scrubs is on D Wing. I think it's the end cell on D4. That's D Wing, yeah, but the 4th landing, the very last cell on the top, as you look at it, the top left. Yeah, I went there. I was then there one night, and this inmates bang, bang, banging on the door, and I went up and I said, well, "What is the matter? You know, you don't need to panic. I'm here. You know." He said, "There's a woman sitting on my bed." I said, "Be assured that there is no woman sitting on your bed." And I could see in through the Judas spy hole, you know, and I couldn't see anybody sitting on his bed at all. But he said, "She's gone now, but she's been here. Who is this woman?" And I said, "Listen," I talked to him for about half an hour. He was really panicking, you know, so much that I missed the clocking in system. You know, I had to report that to the principal officer in the incident book. And anyway, when I spoke to he said, "Well, why have you missed it?" I said, "I had to comfort this man who was banging on the door. Thought there was a woman sitting on his bed. It was the end cell on D4 landing." I told him which one it was. He said, "I'll tell you something about that." He said, "That used to be the female prison. And the female prison, they used to be allowed to keep their babies with them for, I think it was 3 months or 6 months, until they'd been weaned, you know. So they let the babies stay with the mother in the prison." And the principal officer said to me, "Well, what happened was, when they took the child away from the mother, the following day she threw herself off the landings, and that was her cell right at the end of D4 landing. She threw herself off the landing and landed on the floor, and that's why now we have nets. They have like metal nets, you know, metal wiry nets between the landings, so that if you do throw yourself off, you land on the nets, not on the floor and kill yourself." So people have been saying to me, "Oh, it's nonsense, all this." Well, I agree that I'm not saying that you should believe it. You probably wouldn't unless you'd experienced it. But I've experienced it. I've seen spirits in the prisons. I see spirits in real life. I absolutely do believe. And all right, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, absolutely wrong. Could be delusional. But listen, if I'm delusional, then it goes back through history. Because every single culture on this planet has a folklore about spirits and ghosts. everywhere. They're not even met. They've got stories about ghosts in Australia, stories about ghosts in Malaysia, stories about ghosts in Russia, stories about ghosts in ancient Rome, stories about ghosts in Greece, stories about ghosts in the Bible. Yeah. Look at the story of the Witch of Endor. Seriously. Conjured up the ghost of a spirit from the past who predicted that a culture would fall, yeah. And unfortunately for the people, it was the wrong one. Anyway, I am now going to come to that time. I'm not going to sing to you today. You can breathe, no doubt, a sigh of relief, but I have to do the song, dear, because I'm going to read you a poem. Here we are. It's called Your Flower. Before I read this, Sean Atwood is asking people to make a vote on the cover of my forthcoming book that he's publishing. And I'll put a link in this description on the page here. If you would have a look at that and decide which is the best cover. Because if we get the best cover, we stand the chance of selling some books. And I've worked long and hard at that book, you know. It's 77,000 words long, I believe. It's quite a long book, yeah, about the prisons and the Masons attacking me and, oh yeah, a strange world. Anyway, I am now going to read you this poem I wrote. Now, I wrote this poem. I have a friend in the Isle of Man, and her father had died, and she invited me to attend the funeral, but virtually attend the funeral because we were in the COVID lockdown and all that. So I went online and attended virtually, and one thing that moved me about this was that her mother, right at the end of the service, went up to the coffin with a single rose in her hand and put the rose on the coffin of her husband, and they'd been married nearly 60 years. And I thought, no, he's got that flower forever. And so I wrote this poem about that and how I believed it really was. This is called Your Flower by John G. Sutton. When the final hymn has played and all the singing ceased, then there will be time for you to think as you lay down to sleep, and in your dreams still see me, see us both together young. Our tune will still be playing, the dance has just begun. How we laughed, and you will remember me as the Saturday Palais in a neat new suit one day when we were free. I could hold you to me then, foxtrot, 1, 2, 3, but now the band, that glorious sound, is just a memory. You will recall the rose, red rose, that I gently gave to you, and from my hand you too keep with that smile and eyes of blue. In sleeping you are dreaming now of our day that has long passed. Smile in that dream of our love, of a time that could not last. Yet do not believe I have left you, we will always have that hour. And as I sleep now in a darker room, I am holding still your flower. You placed it there and walked away, as lovers always do. So though I am beyond your touch, our love is forever true. There you go. A little bit melodramatic, perhaps. Perhaps not for everybody's taste, but there we are. Your Flower by John G. Sutton. Do have a look at Sean Atwood's. It's like a survey he's doing to see which is the best one. There's a link in the description on this page. Thank you very much. Will no doubt speak again. Do like and subscribe. We'll meet again. Absolutely.